Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Druk's Milan Unboxing. Excuse the surroundings. When life throws you lemons, sometimes you make lemonade. Forgot the tripod at home. We got late at the hotel. But I had a funny experience because I was flying up on the airplane and I was reading this book, Boxing by Loyiso Mtya, the story of money, blood, sweat and tears. So I was reading this book on the plane. And then when the driver picked me up, when Jacob came to pick me up, he asked me, where's Loyiso Mtya? And I said, are you kidding? He's coming too. And boom, here is the writer of a book, Mr. Loyiso Mtya himself. Nice to have you around, Loyiso.
Thank you so much, Druk's. It's a pleasure to have you, because when I have you, I know I have a legend, I know I have a historian of boxing, and I know that all we are going to be talking about is boxing.
We've already talked about so much, but Loyiso likes to flatter me. I'm not the legend. This is the legend sitting here. Because you have done it all through boxing. You've been a South African champion in the ring. You've been a trainer. You've been a manager. You've been a promoter. You headed up Boxing South Africa. There's nothing that you haven't done. You've been a broadcaster, commentator. We know we did that with Mtya's Boxing Channel. So you've been through the whole scope. So what inspired the book?
What inspired the book, Druk's, is that I've been through all the categories of boxing, as you know, and from the age of 12. And going through all of them, I've done them, I could say, with a measure of success, because in each and every category that I've gone through in boxing, I have won an award. I have no other award, either a title, an award, a national, a provincial, or even an international award. And again, even in the analysis and commentary of boxing, I've won an award with Bet Blewett for SABC.
Yes, I remember.
International award. So I could say that I've been around the block a few times, and I think I gathered a lot of dust. So I thought, why don't I drop some dust, share it with the people, especially with the youth that are coming, because the challenge that you are having as boxing people is that we have a lot of this knowledge. We've gone through this thing in a sport that really sometimes destroys minds, destroys families, and at the same time, sometimes it makes successes out of some people, but we don't tell their stories. So I decided to go for this book. It is 36 chapters, and it covers a lot of things in boxing. It is really for somebody to educate, it is really for entertainment, and it is really for awareness of what is happening around you, because it's not only boxing, it is also attached in history, because boxing, in fact, and history go together. Like I say again, when it comes to the time about boxing and casualties, boxing and fatalities, and we just had one in KZN, they go together. Yes. That is exactly what made me to actually write this book, so that people can be more aware.
Okay, Loyiso, where can people buy the book?
I've got people in Cape Town who've got the book and can deliver. I've got people in Johannesburg, Pretoria, who have the book. I have people in Tanzania. But again, if you don't want that, you are far from everybody, you can go to takealot.com. Takealot.com deliver. A lot of people have received their books. In fact, you received
I ordered it from Takealot, yes.
And you got it, and I signed it today.
Yes, what a bit of luck. I found the author and he signed my book today. That's about the book. Now we are here for a big show tomorrow afternoon at Emperor's Palace, tomorrow evening rather, should I say. There's a big rematch going on. But on the undercard as well, we've got no less than 5 4-rounders, and out of those 10 fighters, no less than 8 fighters are making their professional debut. Can you remember your pro debut, Loyiso?
I remember it very well. I think every boxer, that is one occasion that he or she actually remembers, because you've been an amateur sometimes, a very successful amateur, and sometimes you've been average. Sometimes you haven't been anything at all. But now here comes this day where you've got to climb this mountain. You're going to be on top of that mountain, or you're going to be crossing this river. And you're crossing this river with a lot of sharks and all of that. Because there is a difference between amateur boxing and professional boxing. Which is why you'll find now that even when boxers turn professional, even if they fought 4 or 5 times in the amateurs and there was only one winner, you found that when it comes to the professionals, the guy who's always been losing is the one that's going to win, because now the atmosphere is totally different and the challenges and what is expected of you is totally different. So each and every boxer prepares, and each and every boxer knows that day is a special day. They even know how they prepared for the fight. They even know what was happening in the dressing room, waiting for their time to come. And they even know their ring walk to the ring. They'll even tell you the first punch that they threw and the first punch that hit them and got them to know now you are in it. Now you are in the professional ring and there is no turning back.
Now, because they're making their pro debuts, it's a lot of fighters each making their debut against each other. There's one or two that's more experienced. So they are fighting blindly against each other. They don't know what the other guy's going to do. They don't have tape or a lot of history on the fighter to watch. But maybe two things in that undercard of 4 rounders that stick out. Number one, we're going to have for the first time in a very long time a female fighter on a Golden Gloves card, which is Jolandi Gelderblom. I believe she's a 3-time South African amateur champion. And the last female fighter we have, I'm talking under correction, if I remember correctly, it was Irashal Duran, the daughter of Roberto Duran. It was a long time ago. But Jolandi Gelderblom is going to make her debut, and I think that might be something worth watching. What do you think about the female game these days, Loyiso?
I think the female game came with a lot of ballyhoo when it was introduced in 2006. And luckily for me, I don't know if I must say that's luckily, it fell on my table because I was COO for Boxing South Africa at that time. And I had to run with female boxing. But even as it was introduced by Parliament, not a single cent was put to fund female boxing. So we had to look around for money. Fortunately, we had this program that was called the Baby Champs, and we piggybacked female boxing on that. We produced 16 champions from that, and those 16 champions turned professional. And they took South African boxing, especially female boxing, to the highest top with, in 2 years' time, we had a world champion, IBF world champion, Noni Tenge. We also had Miyegeni being a world champion. So, you know, we thought our female boxing had come, but suddenly things just went down. We come now to a stage where they only fight once, they only fight in November. Nothing is happening. But now, with Boxing South Africa having said that at least there must be one female bout per go. Now here comes Golden Gloves. We haven't seen female boxing really in the biggest platform in South African boxing, Golden Gloves. And here they are today. And maybe it's where we can say now we are turning the corner again. Here comes female boxing. And I understand that this little lady is very good. I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen her either, so we'll see what she's got to offer.
I've seen some of them fighting in the Eastern Cape. I see that they are good. All they need, all that female boxers need is the opportunities. And I think we are going to have to come to a stage where we won't have only one. We'll have 2 or 3 because there will be such a demand if they are good enough and take up the opportunities with both hands.
As you've said, we've had Noni Tenge. I believe she's still got a fight coming up this year. She's more sort of in the second half of her career, if I can say that. We have Buki Wenonina. We've got Heda Volmarans coming up.
Yes.
Jolandi Gelderblom, she's making a debut at lightweight. She can be also something interesting because in the world it is taking off with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano being the first to headline Madison Square Garden. Fantastic fight. So let's hope we can emulate something of that. Moving on with the undercard, there's also a professional debut of an Olympic bronze medalist, Samuel Taki, which should be interesting because we've had a lot of great fighters coming from Ghana.
That's very interesting, in fact, starting from South Africa. In that, among South African boxers, when was the last time you had a South African boxer going to the Olympics? When was the last time a South African boxers actually winning a medal, going into those final stages? It was about more than 40 years ago. It was Stevens.
Teofilo Stevenson.
No. A South African boxer.
Oh, okay, Laurie Stevens.
Laurie
Stevens.
On during the apartheid time, he won that. And after that, We haven't seen even a South African boxer going for the bronze stages. Now here comes another African boxer, Namibia. He's one of us. He's part of our boxing, coming to make his debut. Because the truth of the matter is that South Africa is the London, South Africa is the Las Vegas, South Africa is the New York of African boxing. Now he's making his debut here, and I can assure you, if he impresses, he's going to be coming back, and if he impresses, he's going to be inside the house, the Golden Gloves house, and he will be going for world honors in no time. It will be exciting to see him.
Samuel Taki, in fact, from Ghana, not Namibia, but we've had from Ghana some great fighters like Azuma Nelson, who's a prime guy that stands out, and there were many others, Alfred Cote and so forth. But at the weigh-in today, perhaps you saw in social media, on Facebook if you're on it, we had a special guest, and it was none other than former WBA welterweight champion of the world, Ike Corte. He made 7 defenses of his title. He gave Oscar De La Hoya absolute hell, as he did with Fernando Vargas and Winky Wright and Vernon Forrest. You remember the fight between Corte and Oscar De La Hoya, Loyiso?
I remember that one. I remember that fight so well. That is why when they said to me, there's Ike Corte, I said, stop everything. I've got to take a picture with this guy, because I am now rubbing shoulders with greatness, because that guy is greatness personified. He fought the best in the world, and he was up there. And his fight with Oscar De La Hoya was one, De La Hoya's greatest and toughest fights. Number 2, one of the best fights I have seen in that division. And, well, maybe this one I'm biased because in African. I thought he won that fight.
There were a lot of people who thought he won the Oscar De La Hoya fight.
I thought he beat Oscar De La Hoya.
Personally, I think it was very close. He could well have gotten that decision.
Yes.
It was a close one. Oscar De La Hoya, of course, has been involved in many close fights. Sturm, Trinidad, Shane Mosley.
Yes.
Sometimes it went his
Whittaker.
way, sometimes it did not. Whittaker is another one.
Yeah.
But moving back to tomorrow night, the main supporting bout, we've got the South African heavyweight title fight between the new champion Joshua Pretorius. He took it from Jean Roux, who in turn took it from Tian Phuc. But he boxed a great fight in beating Jean Roux over 12 rounds, great jab, and he's taking on Chris Thompson. And what is interesting about this fight, Josh Pretorius and Chris Thompson, like some of his fighters tomorrow, made their pro debuts against each other, and Chris Thompson won that one on points. Well, it was a long time ago and many fights ago. Do you think that could give Thompson a psychological edge?
It certainly does. If you have beaten the guy before,
even though it was a 4-rounder.
Even though it was a 4-rounder, you always have that feeling that I know how to beat him. I have his number. You are going to see I'm going to beat him again. But at the same time, again with the loser, it becomes even a bigger motivation, in that a lot of times losing boxers know how or why they lost, and they know exactly what to do to turn around that defeat to a victory. And a lot of times they become more motivated than the previous winner. And again, I also hope that these guys put up a good fight, whoever wins, but get a kind of fight that everybody will remember. Because you know that boxing is measured around how heavyweights at the time fight. In fact, I've written it in my book, where it says there are some people who say there is boxing, and then
there's
there is
heavyweight boxing.
Or there are some people who will be saying, as heavyweights go, so does boxing. So if you have good heavyweights, the last time we had real good heavyweights was when we had Harry Kutse, we had Galik Mtya, we had Skate at the same time.
That was a golden era.
That was the golden, in fact, that's the era I was fighting in.
Yes.
I was fighting during that era. That's why a lot of us in that era are regarded as better, even if we are no better sometimes than the present boxers, but simply because we were in that era. It is believed that that was the golden era of boxing all over the world. And again, if you look at the interest of boxing, we still have to work hard to actually get to that zone where we say now people are actually following boxing, because we had these heavyweights drawing crowds of over 70,000 at stadiums, at stadiums here in town, growing crowds of 20 to 25,000 in Soweto, growing crowds of 20 to 25,000 in Sisa Tukase Stadium in Tanzania, because they were good heavyweights. So that's why I'm saying I wish these two heavyweights and some more heavyweights coming can come up with some kind of standard boxing that will make people to actually say, let me go and watch boxing again.
And another interesting story about Chris Thompson and Josh Pretorius. Chris Thompson is a good athlete. He was a swimmer at a very high level at school. I think then he came out of that and he became a rugby player. He played at Currie Cup level. And then we had Josh Pretorius, was also a rugby player, played at Currie Cup. I'm not sure at what level he played, but a fairly high level. So they come from other sports into boxing. Now, rugby is a sport that's very different to boxing because you get short spurts and a lot of rest, where boxing is more like a marathon. And in the past we had guys coming in from other sports. Most have failed, but we've had people like Ken Norton, the heavyweight that came from gridiron football and who did very well. What do you think about that conversion from other sports? Does it help them in any way or not? Or does it hinder them?
I think we should start from what they bring to boxing. Because if they were successful, for instance, this guy who was in rugby, successful in rugby, you will find that he has his rugby following. And then if this one also brings his following into boxing, you will find that, especially if they put up a good fight and they are known by those people from those sporting codes, they will bring those people to boxing. That's good enough, very good for boxing. Boxing needs that. Number two, in terms of their fighting abilities, especially where they come from, a lot of times they are cloned to exactly what they were doing before. You will find that if the guy was playing rugby, he will be more on the brawling side on boxing. He will come forward, especially if he was playing forward, like he was a ranger or whatever. You will find that that guy is going to be very difficult to stop from going forward. And if again, when it comes to boxing, the people who train him actually know that he was in rugby and try and steal from what he brings from rugby and put it into boxing, you will find that you will have a Mike Tyson, even though he was not a rugby player, you will find a Mike Tyson from rugby. Now, if you bring the guy for what was he playing, the other one?
They both played rugby. They both played rugby at a high level, and Chris Thompson was also before that a swimmer.
Yes.
He was good at swimming.
Now, if you take again from rugby, you say this guy was a center.
I don't know what position he played, but he played at Currie Cup level apparently.
And you say this guy maybe was a wing.
Yeah.
Then you've got a guy there who's going to move. Then you've got a guy there who's going to be fighting very well at long range because he's used to that space and running there. But what is important is what they are going to be getting from the trainers to actually get from what they bring into the game. Now, if he was also in swimming,
Thompson wasn't swimming.
Thompson was swimming. Swimming is known for being one of the best exercises for fitness, because they say when you swim, every part of the body is working. And I know that a lot of boxers swim. Though during our days before that, we were told that no, swimming will make you stiff. It's true, it makes you stiff, but there are also ways of loosening it up. Use it to make you stiff, but it will also make you stronger, especially your shoulders, your legs, and all of that. So you'll find that if that guy also still uses that swimming for fitness purposes for boxing, he comes with something else now. You might find a very, very fit and well prepared athlete for boxing.
So we've seen Josh Pretorius box for Jean Roux, box beautifully behind the jab. Chris Thompson, he also likes to jab. He got knocked out earlier in his career by Akani Puzi with one shot. Now see, he's changed his style a little bit. He's more on his feet. He not run, but he moves around the ring and he does this up jab like the Americans like. But it's not the solid jab of Josh. It's more like a fast jab, and then he turns it into a hook, or he comes up with an uppercut. Of course, he jabs with his right, and goes to a body. But it's sort of fast, quick punches. He's not really sitting down on those punches, and even when he's fighting smaller opponents, he's not knocking the guys out, and that's what worries me a little bit, because he's going to have to do something to Josh Pretorius to get him to stop. And Josh is a tough guy; he can take a shot. How do you think the fight plays out? Who do you have winning that fight?
I haven't seen them. Both of
Okay.
them. I haven't seen them, but if you're talking styles,
Yes.
and at the same time you are talking now,
Southpaw against
Southpaw
Orthodox.
against Orthodox, and again, if you're saying this guy is a mover, if you're saying this guy is a jabber, he stands a very good chance of keeping his opponent away from him with the jab, and if he moves well to the right directions, because as a southpaw you've got to know your directions, especially against an orthodox boxer. But you have to prepare for that. You have to be taught how to do that. You have got to know how to expect, because one of the advantages of being a southpaw is that whatever an orthodox boxer can do moving forward, a southpaw can do it moving back. But again, as a southpaw, you are easy to trap, especially if you are being forced to move to your left hand, because you have a blind zone. It's a natural thing. You have a blind zone there. So it is very important for a southpaw to be taught to know that he's a southpaw, and to know where he should be in the ring, and to know where he should be in terms of the angles to his opponents. And if he's able to do that, then he can be able to beat any boxer, whether he comes forward or he goes back. But again, now you worry me in that you say you are not sure how effective he can be, especially with the way he puts it, he executes those styles.
It's fast punches, it's thrown on the fly, it's not sit-down shots. So we've seen what Chris Thompson looks like. He's a big, muscular guy.
Yes.
For a guy like that, at small, I've seen him fight smaller opponents where in Dar es Salaam or not the same weight. He doesn't knock these guys out.
Yes.
He wins on points. His last fight, he was a bit unlucky to get a draw. And that's the thing with Chris Thompson. I think after the knockout against Poozy way back then, he's maybe boxing a little bit too much now. But we'll have to see. I've seen a lot of him, so I'll stick my head out. I went against the Red Beast, Josh Pretorius, last time on Big John Roo. So it's Josh the Red Beast against Chris Wolf Thompson. I'm going to go with Josh this time. I think he just has a bit more seasoned experience. He's not as quick or athletic maybe as Chris, but he's got a harder jab. And I've also noticed when Chris throws punches, his second hand, he goes with his lead right and he drops this hand. So I kind of think Josh can nail him with a right hand coming over against the southpaw at some points in time. Josh's trainer John Chabalala told me they're going to knock Thompson out. We'll have to see, but my gut tells me Josh wins this on points. But it's very heavyweight.
I think if what you are saying, your dissatisfaction with him, or we are saying maybe it may be his undoing, where he doesn't throw his jab stiff, and at the same time where he doesn't move well, then that means a style. It's a pity I haven't seen them. A style that you say Pretorius is using in terms of coming forward, number one, and again Pretorius being able to take a good punch. If Pretorius is able to put the pressure of hell on Thompson, if you put the pressure of hell on Thompson and Thompson is not able to make that jab work for him, a ramrod jab, and at the same time move to the right directions, the pressure, because that's one way of beating a southpaw. The first one is to put the pressure of hell on the southpaw and see if he can be able to do that. So if Pretorius is going to put on that pressure against a less competent southpaw, I think Pretorius will stop him midway towards the end.
It's a very difficult fight to call. It's a 50-50 fight, and that's what you want. You don't always want to be sure who wins the fight, and it's a heavyweight fight. What's not to like about that? Now, the main event is a rematch. We've got Brandon Thysse and Roarke Knapp running it back this time for ABU junior middleweight title over 12 rounds. Their previous fight, what were your thoughts that you took from their previous fight in 2019?
I like both boys. That's the first thing I want to say. I like both of them, and I think they bring a good mixture of styles into the fight, and at the same time they bring a whole, especially now Knapp, a whole new breed of viewers to the fight. Knapp is, I like the way he looks even before he fights.
The
Even-
ladies are always there when
Yes.
Roarke Knapp fights.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Oscar de la Hoya. Roarke
That's
is
it.
like sort of our version
That's
of
it.
Oscar.
Even
Yeah,
before
yeah.
he fights,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just like
There's
his
always goals
looks,
there.
and I think it's not me alone.
Yeah.
I think people like him, and I think the girls like him, and because that is always the key to.
He's a
big
really
boxing
nice
fights.
bloke as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's always the key. And then coming to the style of his fights, he's got quite an interesting style. He comes for his opponents.
He goes for
is
it.
not scared. He throws a lot of punches. His defense is not very bad. Forget the fact that he's been caught by Thysse before. He was also caught by Thompson, and he was very lucky that the referee misread the whole thing. He was supposed to have been knocked out there, but he comes into the fight. He's a whole package in terms of excitement. You get what you paid for. Against Thysse is coming against a very dangerous one. Thysse can box. Thysse has got that special thing that every boxer dreams of. That one punch killer. Where he gets you, you go. And at the same time, he's also able to set you up for it. You can see that he's coming from a boxing family. He's coming from a father who was talking boxing with him from the beginning. He's able to trap his opponents and get them there. And then again, he's got this rich advantage. I think this fight may either be much easier for him than the previous fight, or the death of his father
Yes.
may have a very, very big impact on him, and we may not get the best. Or at the same time, it might be the other way around. It might produce the best out of him, where he says, I'm doing this for my father.
Like Buster Douglas did against Mike Tyson for his mother. Eh?
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for him. And as he stands there in that ring, as he's getting the introductions there, he's seeing his father saying, do it for me. You may find that it may lift him and fight the way he has never fought before. And I think as the fight goes, he's going to find the measure of Knapp, and I think he's still going to stop Knapp later in the fight.
Okay, you say Brandon Thysse is going to stop Roarke late in the fight.
Yeah.
If we analyse it and we think, what does Roarke bring? He's had nice activity since their last fight. He was in the ring regularly.
Yes.
One almost by stoppage. He did take a lot of punishment there against Ndombasi, and we'll have to see how that will affect him.
Yes.
Because he was tottering on the edge of a knockout there. How he made it through, nobody knows. Obviously, you say he was lucky the referee erred there and let the fight go on, but he did recover and he did come back into that fight. For that, you have to give him credit. He's got power, but now he has to deal with the mental knowledge of where he was in his last fight on the canvas.
Yes.
He knows he can get up and fight back, but he also knows that Brandon stopped him. Now Brandon has the reach advantage.
Yes.
He's had less activity than Roarke Knapp. He's had only one fight or two fights in between. It was Boyd Allen and Tony Silvanwanen. And he's got the reach advantage. But I think the difficult thing for Brandon Thysse is, you've beaten the guy, so it's very hard to get motivated. You must guard against complacency. And Roarke has to overcome this hill that he has been knocked out by Brandon. You've been in the corners of many fighters. I'm gonna put you in the corner of Roarke Knapp now.
Yes.
How will you fight Brandon Thysse?
I'd get Roarke Knapp.
Yeah.
Roarke Knapp to get very close, to stay on his chest. But while he stays on his chest, he's going to come down and up, and sideways. Because if he stands there, he's giving Thysse a chance to actually stretch his hands and get him.
And Thysse has got a very good uppercut and he's good body shots as well.
So what he's got to do now is got to get him very close, so that when he starts to get that uppercut, he gets with him. He gets on him with a hook. When he starts to get to the body, he also gets on him with a hook, because he'll be more able to do that when he is close. And at the same time, while he's able to do that, he's got to try and get Thysse to throw down. It loses power when he does that. And when he punches up him, Knapp, it gives him more energy, it gives him more advantage as a shorter opponent. But again, it won't be easy, because if he's inside here for those body shots and those uppercuts, he's got to make sure that he tightens his defense, especially when it comes to that uppercut that's got to come here. That's why he's got to come in here. That's why he's got to be rolling his shoulders, taking there. That's why it's got to be going down on his knees and going up.
Change levels, step out at angles.
That's it.
Stay close, control the distance there.
And control that distance there, and do that throwing punches. And if you can do that and throw those more punches, it may even hurt him, especially to the body. And you find that as the fight goes on, Thysse's power may be dropping.
And now I'm going to put you in the other corner in place of Damien Durant. Now you're coaching Brandon Thysse. What do you tell Brandon?
I tell Brandon, this guy is going to be coming to you. This guy is going to be moving his head. This guy is going to be trying to beat your jab so that he can get inside. So the first thing you've got to do is to get your jab to work much, much more than it has ever worked before. Work your jab to keep him there. Work your jab to take him aside. Work your jab, he must go this way. Work your jab, he must go this way, so that you can be able to direct him to your right hand and to your hook while you throw your jab. And when he gets to a little bit close, you step back. You always must use your legs to actually keep that distance. Because if you are thinking you are going to just jab him to keep him away without using your legs, he's going to come in. You keep using your legs, one step back, 2 steps back, and come back and hit him with an uppercut. Because you can throw the jab, step back, make him come. As he comes, you meet him with an uppercut. But you also have got to make sure that when he actually gets inside, it doesn't mean now that your fight has ended. It's his fight. Even when he is inside, you make sure now that is where you rough him up to make sure that he has no appetite to stay here. The only way now to rough him up is your uppercuts. You keep your hands inside you and you go there. Because when he gets there, it must not be comfortable. He must want to stay there. And when he stays there, you keep him there. Now your fight is coming your way.
Okay, now on this show, I always stick my neck out and make a prediction. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I make a complete fool of myself, like last time with Inoue and Donaire. But I actually concur with you, and I think it's the consensus opinion of most ringsiders that Brandon Thysse is going to repeat this with another late round stoppage. I also have got Brandon Thysse in this fight, but I think it's going to be a very good scrap while it lasts. And Roarke is determined, he's talented, he can hit too, so you can never write him off. He might upset the apple cart and show us all a thing or two, but I'm going with Brandon Thysse on late round stoppage. And that's it from me. Loyiso, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a real unexpected pleasure.
Thank you.
Guys out there in TV land, remember, Boxing, the story of money, blood, sweat and tears by Mr. Loyiso Mtya. It's a very good read on the history of South African boxing with that Mecca Eastern Cape flavor mixed into it. Go get it on Take A Lot. And until we see each other again, remember